Good afternoon. Good afternoon, fellow Ambazonians. It's a pleasure having you with me on another episode of The War Zone right here on ABS TV. I know it's been a while that I haven't been here. First of all, we had some technical issues at the studios due to a storm, and since the studio was up, I haven't been able to come out, but I'm here now. I'm here today, and I have an interesting package to unveil to you today. But before I do that, I would like for you to do me a favor and share the link, share the link to get as many Amazonians as possible watching. Yeah, as I was saying, I haven't been here for a while, but I'm here now, and we will continue with our weekly programs of the War Zone, covering issues related to the liberation quest of the Southern Cameroons and Bazonia. Today is Wednesday, of course, August the 28th, 2024. And I will be joined later by Dr. Ngwambe. But before he comes in, I have a few things that I would like to talk about. And the first of which is, of course, this incident that happened in Fako. It happened in Fako. I know La République du Cameroon likes to go out there and tell its people and some gullible Amazonians that, oh, the war is over, everything is back to normal. But every day they continue to lose those of their forces of occupation that they have within our territory. And we have advised them to leave for the sake of their own lives, so that their families won't lose them, but they don't listen. So a few days ago, 3 bribe collectors were neutralized in Fako. And they were there not to provide security to the people. They were there to collect ransoms from passengers and car users, bikers, you name the rest, who were plying the roads. And we know incidents where they have gone as far as to gun down school children on their way to school. We remember baby Caroline who was shot in the head while on her way to school. So these people are not there to provide you any security. So, but we have advised them to leave for their own sake. And they continue to be stubborn, and they are paying the price for it. Now, that is over and done with. I hope that others will realize the futility of trying to impose themselves on the Amazonian people, because by now they should understand that the quest for the liberation of Amazonia is something that cannot be pinned down. It cannot be pinned down. Severally, they have tried
The land built towards greatness, now shattered like an egg. This is the Chronicles. In the Genesis, January 1st, 1960, Angola got its freedom. On 11th of February 1961, Cameroon and Angola became brothers in a referendum. Like Le Coupe and Maningo Batu exist in confederation, 63 years later, the blood of the innocent shed to pay the price The price of our forefathers' mistakes, the price of their choices. Was it the we or yes? First, they said it was Boko Haram from the north. From being the jihad of Usman Dan Fodio, nowhere is safe. Saturday, 9 September 2017. Teachers, lawyers, they said, I recall leaving school for home that day, naively so jovial, because we thought it was a strike to strive for our future strides, a fight to fight for our future fights. But then, the first blood spilled on a land our forefathers bore with their blood for liberation, in shadows of history's cruel reign. When the missionaries came to Africa, they had the Bible and we had the land. They said, let us pray. We closed our eyes open. We had the Bible and they had the land. We bear the weight of mental chains. Colonial masters physically gone but mentally present. Our voices echo songs of freedom. Generation bound by unseen bars, struggling to break free from scars. They suppressed our cultural richness and traditions, buried the turmoil in our brains and called it independence. Just the flag independence indeed.
Can imprison my body, we not go fit to capture my soul. Golo ara kele bale, we no go fit to kill my soul.
But from the depths of resilient flames, our spirit ignites. That which refuses to tame, the Penat Fonlon generation, descendants of a great Mia Shaw, Africa's intellectual and Prince of Peace, from Cameroon and the heart of Africa, a man who believed in unity before diversity, a people politically divided but economically and developmentally united, decolonized and washed off Eurocentrism. I am no crusader for the things English. I do not worship English. I worship Lamso. For that is my identity. Just as the foot beat their blades and hit the drums to the rhythms of my ancestors within my soul, rethinking the African philosophy of education. If the first language of a child from birth is their mother tongue, education will greatly ameliorate, in the words of Ngugi wa Thiong'o. This is the move of Professor Benanso Okika Fonlon, also known as the genuine intellectuals, not the Lion King's dream, but the Martin Luther King's dream. Africa, rise, retelling your own stories in resilience and resistance. Africans reclaim what was once theirs and even more. Why fight against each other? Why take the life of a brother, sister, mother, or child? The war would end. The leaders will shake hands. But the old woman will keep waiting for her brave son. The young girl will keep waiting for her beloved husband. That boy would endlessly wait for his mother. Those children will wait for their heroic father. I do not know who sold our homeland, but I saw who paid the price.
Okay. All right. I think that is a brilliant piece right there, a very brilliant piece, well presented. The message is clear. And honestly, fellow Ambazonians, this is one element that has been missing in our liberation quest, the use of art to convey information as it has been done with this clip that we just watched. It is brilliantly done with the emphasis on pointing out the injustices that have been done to our people, the suffering, and the way out. Okay, those main actors that have played a significant role in resisting the oppression of the enemy. But this is something that we need to encourage our youth, our artists, to be more involved in this liberation quest. We need to see musicians, poets, actors, actresses, bring forth your own talents to help in this liberation struggle. You see, it cannot be the fighters on the ground alone, or those who are struggling to provide them resources to mount the resistance that is most needed. Everybody is supposed to be hands-on to make sure that we succeed. And this is one element that we need to continuously encourage our people to take part of. This piece right here is just brilliantly done, and I want to congratulate those who have done it. I've watched it more than once, and I hope that we circulate it. It goes a long way to tell our story in ways that just mere words can do. So I want again to thank those who are responsible for this piece. Now, as I was saying, I have something to say here with regards to something that falls very much in line with the piece that we have just watched here. Which has to do with the fact that even as we have been in this quest for the liberation or the restoration of the dignity and sovereignty of the Southern Cameroons and Bazonia, there are some of our brothers and sisters who are just standing out there watching as if they are not concerned or it doesn't involve them, and some actively aiding and abetting the enemy in the commission of the atrocities against our people. And you look at them and you ask, what really is wrong with them? Why can't they see the injustice that has been done to us, which is so glaring? You don't even have to go looking. If you have been anywhere in the Southern Cameroons on the ground, it is just so visible, so conspicuous. You don't have to, no one has to tell you for you to know what exactly is going on. But there are some who are just so aloof, so unconcerned, and they are treating it as if it's something that concerns others. Even when their own very brothers and sisters, and fathers and mothers are suffering the same fate and consequences like every other Ambazonian out there. But they don't still see the need to get involved. So I was wondering to myself why that is. Then I came across this footage of a horse being led by a toddler. And before I expand on this visual image, I would like for us to watch it together. And then after that, I will go to explain exactly what the problem is that is affecting us. So if the studio, I'm sure the studio has that video, I would like for the studio to show us that video. Please watch it carefully. Okay, now as you watch this video, fellow Ambazonians, as you watch this video this second time, I want you to pay attention to the absolute power that this child has. And then secondly, imagine the absolute power that this horse has. And then look at the relationship between the child and the horse. And ask yourself why it is possible for this child to have such control over this horse. Okay, so take a look at it again, and then after that we will talk about it. We will talk about it because it is something that we really need to ask ourselves and examine what exactly is going on here. Now, okay, I think that is good enough. We have watched it. We may come back to it as the discussion goes on, but let's just imagine ourselves. Let's just imagine that is a horse. How much power this horse has as compared to that which this toddler who can barely walk, she can barely walk, but she is controlling this horse. Okay, she is controlling this horse. So the question is, Why does this horse feel compelled to follow the direction of this toddler? What is going on here? It is because this horse has been trained. It has been trained to follow the directives of any human being, as little as maybe that child may be 1 year old. This horse, if you were to take maybe 100 of these children and put them together to pull against this horse would still be able to get away if it wanted to get away. But yet, this single toddler is able to control the horse. What then is responsible for this? It is what we call mental domination. Mental domination. Mental servitude or slavery goes before actual slavery. This horse has been trained mentally to accept a subservient role relative to any human being, no matter how young. That is why this child, as young as she is able to control this horse. This horse has enormous power. This horse can simply turn around and walk away, and this child will not be able to restrain it. But the horse feels compelled to follow this child. That is what we as a people have suffered. Most of our people are suffering from this mental servitude. The syndrome of mental servitude. They don't see themselves as free enough to walk away from a bad situation. They feel that the person holding that rope, no matter how fragile, has more power over them than it is real. The power that they imagine that their oppressor has over them is only in their mind. It is all about the mind. Their minds are dominated. They are mentally enslaved. And that is why Bob Marley says, you have to, first of all, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. Because as long as you are mentally enslaved, you cannot be actually free. As long as you are mentally enslaved, there is no way you can be free in reality. It's like an animal or chicken that you have caged it for so long. It is so used to being in a house, and you come one day and you open the door and you expect the chicken to simply walk out into freedom. No, it has been so used to being caged that it feels that that is its own environment. That is what some of our brothers and sisters are suffering from. That is what they are suffering from. Mental servitude. They are not mentally free, and therefore they are incapable of visualizing their own freedom, walking away. Just this horse can simply turn around and walk away, but it will not do it because mentally it is still enslaved. It is still enslaved mentally. I'll quote an example of Africa and the West. Africa is so powerful, so potentially rich in resources and human, both material and human resources. But for some reason, Africa has been so mentally enslaved such that they do not see themselves capable of existing and functioning without the control of Europe and America and maybe Asia. So they are dependent on these other places for direction in everything they do. Despite the fact that they have everything under their feet to rise up and be who they can be truly. But because their minds are still in captivity, they are incapable of realizing this actual freedom. That is the problem with us. You see, when you look at the map of Africa, when we look at the map of Africa, and there's another image I would like for us to see. The map of Africa, which shows the size of Europe, Asia, America, that can be put into Africa. And then you see another image with a map of Africa and the size of France. You see, you can fit all these countries in Africa. See, all these countries can fit in Africa. But yet, one of these, the blue map you see in the middle there, on that map, that is the map of France. That is the map of France. But France, a very small fraction of what Africa is, will come to Africa and summon the leaders of Africa to come and stand on a roll call and answer yes, sir, to France. What is responsible for this? How is it that a whole mighty Africa, so potent, feels so powerless in front of a tiny France? What is responsible for that? Mental slavery, mental servitude. You feel mentally inferior. Mentally, you feel inferior to France. That is why, and I would like to see an image of African leaders standing behind Macron as if he is the school master and they are the students. There they are. These are people who are supposed to be leading Africa. France will summon them, say, come here, come and stand here. And they will all show up. They will show up, stand in line, take orders, stand at akimbo. Look at them, very respectful. What is their problem? They don't see themselves as having the power to resist France. They don't see themselves as equals, despite the fact that they have enormous power. They are like the horse being directed by a toddler. That is what Africa is. They are like the horse being led by a toddler that can barely walk. And fellow Ambassadors, until we are able to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, actual freedom will remain elusive. Until we are able to free ourselves mentally, actual freedom will remain elusive. That is our problem. Now, take, for example, what is happening in the Sahel. See what is happening in the Sahel. Captain Traore, you see what he is doing in Burkina Faso. What Captain Traore is doing in Burkina Faso, if he had released the secret of what he was planning to do to somebody, one of these people who are mentally enslaved, if he had told them what he was planning to do, they would have told him, no, what you are trying to do cannot be done. We don't think you can do that. You see? They would have told him that he cannot do what he was planning to do. But look at what Captain Traore has done in a very short period of time. That is what a liberated mind can do. A liberated mind can walk through fire and achieve things that a captured mind can never dream of. That is what the so-called leaders of Africa lack. They lack the courage, the mental sanity, the mental freedom to seek what is good for themselves and for their people. They see themselves, these so-called leaders of Africa see themselves as plantation managers for the West. They are not there to serve the interests of their people. They are there to serve the interests of those that mostly put them in place. Now, let me bring it home. Let me now bring it home. There are many Ambazonians today who have had nothing to do with the liberation quest of the Southern Cameroons and Ambazonian. And what is their problem? Mental slavery, mental servitude. They are not mentally emancipated yet. They are not yet mentally emancipated. They are still living in mental servitude. We Ambazonians can simply walk away from La République du Cameroon if we are all dedicated and committed to the freedom of our people and our homeland. But there are people out here who don't want to have anything to do with it. You see them at cultural events, splashing money. They say they pretend like they're sponsoring projects back home. But you look at it, those projects don't yield any benefits that have any significance in uplifting the living conditions of the people. Why? Because as long as the political structure in place cannot allow for actual development, your efforts will end up in futility. There are people who are Ambazonians who have contributed zero to this liberation quest. Their problem again, they are mentally enslaved. If you tell them that it is possible for Ambazonia to be free, they tell you, some of them even say it, that will not ever work. Why? You think they say so? They say so because they truly believe that it cannot work. Why? Because they are still mentally enslaved. They don't see it as possible. Fellow Ambazonians, I will tell you that if you were to evaluate the number of Ambazonians who are truly committed and are sacrificing towards the liberation of our homeland, the percentage will be maybe 20% of Ambazonians. 20%. And mind you, even this 20% has managed to maintain the resistance against the colonial domination of La République du Cameroon for 8 years now. They have done it successfully for 8 years. Now imagine if only 50% of Ambazonians were committed. Just imagine if 50% were committed and contributing and supporting the efforts of this liberation quest. Imagine where we will be today. Imagine if 70% were committed. Imagine if 80% were committed. Where would Ambazonia be today? The problem of mental enslavement, mental servitude, the lack of mental emancipation, that is what is holding us behind. We don't see ourselves as free people because just like that horse with enormous power allows itself to be led by the nose by a toddler. It allows itself to be led by the nose by a toddler because they have been so brainwashed to believe that their plight was to live as slaves. And that is why slave masters are not stupid. They always precede the enslavement of a people by mentally brainwashing those people to accept the enslavement. Remember, in the days of slavery in the USA, the slave masters told the slaves that you have to serve your master with joy because your own reward will be in heaven, even while they had their own reward right here on earth. That's what it was. That's what the slaves were told, and they put it, of course, where in the holy book, the Bible, that you have to serve your master with joy. That is the problem with our people. And that is our job That is a job that we all have. That is a job we all have as Ambazonians. Those whose eyes are open, those who have been mentally emancipated to help others to see the light of day, to realize that what they think is so the big barrier that they think is blocking them from attaining their freedom is only imaginary. It is not real. They can simply walk to freedom if they so choose. They can walk to freedom if they so choose. So the decision is ours. It is not because it is difficult. We simply do not have the will and the determination to be free. That is the only thing that's keeping us from achieving what we seek. We need to free our minds so we can truly free ourselves. Let me say it again. We need to free our minds so we can truly free ourselves. That is what we need. And I'm glad to have Dr. Ngwambe joining me. Doc, I'm glad. I hope you followed this monologue. I thought I should bring it because I have reflected on this for quite some time. And I thought this message was necessary to be brought to our people who are an endowed people with a lot of resources, and yet we continue to suffer untold misery, humiliation, torture, extortion, exploitation, killings, and you name the rest. And yet some of us do not see the need to rise up like every other oppressed people who found themselves, their backs against the wall, and they fought their way to victory. We too can do the same. But all we need is for us to be determined. Dr. Ngwambe, if you follow this monologue, I'd like to hear your thoughts about it. Please come in.
Yeah, Mike, you actually, and greetings to my fellow Amazonians at home and abroad. God bless you, especially our liberation forces. God bless our liberation forces. So I listened to, fortunately I was able to catch, a good bit of your monologue. And, in addition to the mental enslavement, I would even say the mental enslavement is mostly on leaders. I would put it mostly on them, which I believe is what you've correctly done. Because when you look at African people in general, we are a very industrious people. We are a very educated people. We are very informed people, and we are a very, very capable people. It's the stooges. That's what I'm going to call this. It's the stooges that, certain actors in the international community have put over the nations which were created by the Europeans, because that's the truth of most African borders. Most of the African nations that exist today, these are borders that were created by the Europeans. They weren't created by us. So these Western Europeans in particular, France, England, Germany in particular, and after they kicked out the Germans, it's remained with the British and the French, and France is the most notorious of the criminals. And when we look at it, they've picked stooges who don't really love being black, who don't really love being African. And those stooges, they mismanage the territory for the benefit of their puppet masters. Now, if these guys really wanted to emancipate themselves from mental slavery, they would embrace a system where power is derived from the people and not derived from Europe. So that way they could have the confidence that they need when they walk into some of these rooms to make win-win beneficial negotiations with the world. They would have that confidence because they know that their power, their ability to be in that office is because of the people, and it's not coming from France, Britain, or whatever other colonial power that is keeping them there. If you know that it is a foreigner that is keeping you on the seat of power, you will be more afraid of that foreigner. And that's why you'll be kowtowing to them, you'll be bending to them, everything they say, when they say jump, you'll be asking how high. But if you actually your power was derived from your people, the people who you are leading, the people who have chosen you, the people who can decide whether you should remain in office or not, when you go into that space, you will be acting on behalf of the people. You will not be afraid of what that outsider is trying to do to you. You would be doing things for your people. So much of what you said is 100% correct. And ultimately, we are not the first set of people. Some of you may not know, I mean, maybe some of you will know, but if you look at history, even the European powers themselves, they had their own stooges. They had, they have fought hard to be able to manage their leadership dictation process, but they fought for it. And it is up for us as people of African descent to also fight for the ability to not have external manipulation on our leadership process. And the perfect example of that is, you see what America is doing. They're concerned about this Russian manipulation on their elections. If you see what Russia does, Russia is as they, everything is internal. They've learned not to rely on Western banking. They do their own mining. They have their own internet. I mean, even China has its own internet. Iran has its own internet. And why are they doing that? It's because they're trying to protect their sovereignty. They're trying to protect their decision-making processes from being manipulated by external factors. And those are some of the things that we as African people, we need to start to do if we want our leaders and our countries to be managed in a way that benefits us.
That is exactly what we need, Dr. Mohammed, because when you look at not too long ago, China was considered a third world country. Remember that. So, but I reached a point where they realized that depending on others to shape their own destiny would never bring to them the kind of prosperity they needed. And what they started by doing, by copying what others were doing. They simply see what you're doing. They see you making a machine. They come around and they study how you are making that machine, and they go back and they make their own. Initially, they were not making good machines, but they improved along the way, and they are where they are today. If you do not believe that you have that capability, you will not even make the effort. That is what we're talking about here. Our people, especially those you call leaders, as you have rightly mentioned, do not see themselves as leaders of a free people. I think they went to, was it Russia recently, and they put all of them in a bus. Leaders of sovereign countries were put on a single bus and driven to whatever event they were going to. Now, were the president or the leader of Russia or France or any other country come here and they put them together with the leader of the United States and others in Africa and drive them to an event? Would that happen? So as you hold yourself, as you present yourself out there, that's how people are going to take you. If you present yourself as a commoner, that's how people are going to take you. But if you hold yourself with dignity, put your head up, hold your head high, and demand to be given the respect that you deserve, that is what you're going to get, and do what is necessary to get that respect. But if you're always going around hand in hand, begging, why would people give you respect? If you depend on someone else to make you the leader of your own people, instead of deriving that power from your people, so that you now have the confidence that you are speaking for your people and your people have your back.
Yep.
When you do these things, how then do you expect to have respect? Nobody will respect you. When you steal an election so blatantly and everybody knows you stole it, you cannot go out there and hold your head, especially if you know that those to whom you are talking they know the truth and they have the potential of holding you to account. You are now compelled to give away things that you ought not to give away.
Yep.
You are now compelled to sell the destiny of your people in order to have your own personal survival. That is what Africa is going through.
Yep.
That is what Africa is going through. So recently, I think it was 2 days ago, Comrade Chris had Ambassador Tibo right here on ABS TV again. And he was talking to our own leaders of our liberation movement to come together. He told them that your power lies in your coming together and speaking with one voice. But again, we have in this, our movement, people who, when you see the way they behave, you'll be hard pressed to consider them as comrades, because it seems their decision making is not based on what is good for our people. And that is the hindrance that we have towards our ability to come together and do what is right for our people. You see? So it falls in this, what we have been talking about. Are these people mentally enslaved, or are they just greedy? What is it? So, Dr. Mbabe, I would like, first of all, to hear your own take about what Ambassador Chibo said. And he said this, I don't know how many times he has said it. He said it more than 10 times on several networks. He has gone to every movement in this struggle and said the same thing, that you have to come together. You have to come together. On ABS TV, I think he has done it at least 3 times. He went to Sako's group and told them the same thing, and they insulted him. He's been to Ayaba Joe's group and told them. He has been to other meetings where ambassadors assembled and told him the same thing. He said, you have to come together. So what really is preventing these people from listening to these words of advice from a senior diplomat who knows exactly what he's talking about, Dr. Ngobe?
You know, the funny thing is, if Ambassador Thibault Naj has been so consistent that if he was a Makossa singer, I believe the song he would be singing to Ambazonians is "You must collaborate, collaborate, collaborate." You all know the song. That's what he's been telling us. That's what this gentleman has told us in plain English, the language that we Ambazonians understand. But the blessing is that it seems and it's looking like that is coming into fruition. We've been seeing the activities of our brothers and sisters who have been working within the ambit of the Coalition Commission. So it seems as if there is beginning to be that, you know, it's finally sinking in. And what we Ambazonians essentially have to do is we just need to encourage it. You know, for me personally, sometimes like when I hear people make this statement where they're mocking the fact that, oh, you all have 5 presidents, et cetera, there's too many groups. And then I look at what has happened in other liberation struggles. And I even look at what is going on in other countries that are fully existing countries right now. Let's look at our brothers and sisters in South Sudan. Don Mike, do you know how many vice presidents South Sudan has? South Sudan has 6. And they are a functioning country. So Ambazonians, there's no shame in us having these multiple presidents, except that they are not collaborating. They haven't figured out how to share responsibility. Where if you look at in South Sudan, the South Sudanese, the reason why they have up to 6 vice presidents is because they were in the same situation like us. Even before they won their independence, they fought each other. They even killed each other. And then even after they got their independence, they still were fighting and killing each other. But at some point, they said, you know what, let's get together and figure out how to share this responsibility and accommodate the various ethnic groups that exist in our country, the movements and groups that exist in our country, and give them leadership roles so that they feel that they have some influence in this country that they have. And that's how they ended up with six vice presidents. Don Mike, I'm going to give you another example. How many vice presidents do you think Iraq has? Iraq has 3.
No clue.
Iraq has 3. One representing, well, I mean, I guess the one guy is the main president, and then the other 2 represent the Kurds, and the other ones represent the Sunnis in their country. Okay. And that's a functional independent country.
And then the Shiites, of course.
And then they share it and they figure it out. So that's all it's taking for us Ambazonians to do, is to figure it out and to share it. I mean, it's not, to me, it's not that complicated. Worst of all, when you, Ambazonians, let's be for real. Let's look at La Republique du Cameroon. Bello Buba Magari, Issa Chiroma, and I even think, what is this other guy? Kodok. All those guys were in an alliance with CPDM. CPDM
Yes.
figured out how to share responsibility of La Republic du Cameroon with their opposition. So
Mhm.
what the hell is Ambazonia's excuse? What is our
Yeah,
excuse? Even in this, let me land with one
talking
thing.
about. All
Even
right.
with this, even in the sense of this liberation struggle, CPDM is still able to collaborate with the Camtos and other francophone opposition parties against us
Mhm.
in saying that they're not going to allow us to be independent. So if they're able to collaborate and speak with one voice against our independence, even though they don't agree with each other, and even though they want one of them even wants to overtake the other, then what more of Ambazonia, where we actually are fighting for the same thing? But thank God we're getting there. That's the only thing I can say.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. But I think the problem with us is that where there are some who call themselves leaders, or some movements within our liberation struggle, that see themselves, or at least see this effort as an opportunity for them to empower and especially to enrich themselves. So they see coming together with others and putting in place a structure that will allow them to then function within that structure and allow their activities to be monitored as an impediment to their primary objective, which is profit seeking. You see, because if they were to allow their books to be observed by others, then it will be difficult for them to do those things which benefit them solely. You see, like when people put in place things like liberation tax, they would not be very much motivated to come together with others, because they will see it as, if you come in and you don't want us to collect these taxes, then the income that we have been generating from it will no longer be available to us. So they don't see this liberation quest as being something that should benefit our people. It is something that primarily they see it as something that should benefit them at this point in time. That is what I believe is preventing others from coming in and collaborating. And secondly, some already see themselves as leaders in Boya, so that they are not very welcoming of a structure where there is a possibility that when we arrive Boya, they may not be that leader. So they don't want to leave room for the possibility that someone else may be chosen to lead Ambazonians and not them. And for that reason, they resist collaborating. And to be clear, let me name those. You see, the Sako and Ayaba, those are the people who have that mentality. They have that mentality that when we get to Boya, they must be the ones seated there. But the question is, what means you have to impose yourself on the Ambazonian people? And these are individuals who do not really have the potential of exerting themselves on the people as they would very much want. And when you look at them, you ask the question, how do they see this possibility, the possibility of what they are dreaming of happening? What mechanism do they have to make sure that it becomes real? So you would think that they would realize that it's a futile ambition, that it will not happen, and that they will maybe be more apt to change their position and be willing to collaborate with others. But as you said, let us see what lies ahead in the days ahead. But to me, this is simply the reason why others, because as for the others, I think they are much more open to coming together, and they are beginning to do so. And let's hope that things continue in that way. I don't know if you had something else to add to that.
I mean, the only thing that I would add, right, is that yes, there are some leaders who they may have their selfish, the reasons for why they're doing it, but the majority of the Ambazonian leaders, they don't feel that way. I think our biggest issue is, like I said, we African people are very capable people and competent and educated people. And in Ambazonia, we have a lot of educated people. Even those who have not gone to school have plenty sense. And it's because of that plenty sense and Ovasabi Let me just use that word, that is helping to create this situation where some people, they don't want to have others telling them what to do. And unfortunately, you know, they like that independence now. All of us like to be independent. All of us like to be our own boss.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's fine. But the truth of the matter is that the way countries work is from people coming together and certain people taking responsibility to delegate a certain amount of authority to another person, and then that person essentially coordinates to make sure things are getting done and things are getting executed. It doesn't mean that you don't have your autonomy anymore. That's not what it means. It just means that you all are part of a collective. There's a leader that you all have chosen to operate for a particular time period to achieve a collective agenda. If you all feel that that particular leader isn't pushing us in the right direction, put the mechanisms in place where you can give them a no confidence vote, him or her a no confidence vote, and you replace that person, and then we choose a different path. That's, to me, that's all it takes. I know there's some people who look at it and say, oh, in the liberation struggle, you don't do leadership change, and I'm going to tell you that's bullshit. It's bullshit.
That's nonsense.
I mean,
that's nonsense.
It's big time.
By saying that, people are saying that even if you have somebody there who is not able to deliver the results that will lead to that freedom, you should just be stuck with that person indefinitely.
That's what they're saying.
Despite the fact that you have seen clearly that that person cannot deliver, you should not be compelled to stay with that person or have that person as your leader. You should have the option of replacing ineffective people. It's just rational for you to do that.
And Mike, I mean, to further develop it, my favorite liberation struggle that I look to, because I like to follow what is successful. I like to point to those things that are successful and they have a good outcome, especially a democratic outcome. And that is none other than this blessed country that I'm proud to live in, the United States of America. Their liberation struggle, 13 colonies, each colony sent 7 delegates to their Continental Congress, which was like the Revolutionary Council or the Restoration Council. And those delegates chose a president of that Continental Congress. And that president changed about 7 to 10 times, if I'm not mistaken. Peyton Randolph was the first president of the American Continental Congress. People always confused, this with George Washington. George Washington was one of those delegates, and he was selected by the Continental Congress to be the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. And I know there'll be some restoration forces back home, or there'll be some people who will say, even during war, you don't change your generals. And that's not true. That's also not true. You also change your leadership, and you can also change your generals during war, because there came a time where George Washington was almost replaced because he lost a lot of wars. He lost too many. He lost too many battles.
I would support that, because you cannot say you cannot change the general. What if you find out that your general is actually a traitor that is working with the enemy? Are you compelled to keep that general? Some statements just don't make any sense. Don't make any sense.
And just to add on to that, right? You say, let's look at the American Civil War. During the American Civil War, Ulysses S. Grant was the one who eventually helped the northern states defeat the southern states, but he was not the original general of that war. They replaced, I can't remember the previous guy's name, but they replaced that guy and brought him in. You see Putin, in the early days of his war against Ukraine, was he not having issues? Did he not replace his generals?
Yes,
he replaced them now. Look, even the British, when the British were fighting against the Germans, Neville Chamberlain was swapped out for Churchill. So when people are sitting there, and they had an election process to do it. So when people are there sitting and making it, you cannot change leadership during a revolution or during a wartime. I don't know what history books they're reading. I don't know if they don't want to follow people who've been successful or what. But for me and my house, I will follow that liberation struggle that was successful and had a successful democratic outcome. And that is the United States of America. And God bless this country, because they are my role models when it comes to liberation struggles.
Absolutely. Yeah, let us add another element to this discussion. I'm sure you saw the images about a week ago now of some CPDM stooges in Manu who came out and they were marching with a banner that were calling for their God, I'll call it, Paul Biya, to run for another term in office. I really don't know why they are tormenting this great grandfather. But I would like, before we go ahead with this discussion, I would like for us to watch that video. And briefly, though, I would not like it is very nauseating watching it. Just for the sake of demonstration, I would like for us to watch it briefly before we go ahead with our commentary. The CPDM stooges who came out in Manu and were making a fool of themselves that Paul Biya should run for another term as president of La Republic of Cameroon. Not that it means anything to us, but our only problem is that they were doing it on Amazonian soil. That is our only problem. If they were doing it in La Republic of Cameroon, they can keep Paul Biya for the next however long Paul Biya will be alive. It doesn't concern us. But that should not be done in Amazonia. So let's see if the studio can give us that video. If, let's see if that image will come of yeah, that's it. That is it. That took place in Manu. I think it was led by this notorious CPDM stooge Tabetando. Was led by him and others, and they marched there. And you would notice that a lot of these people came from outside, either from Yaoundé or Douala or somewhere in La Republique Cameroon. And after doing this, most of them would disappear. But the tragedy there is that they would drag some gullible people in the area to come and swell their numbers after paying maybe, normally they would give like 1,000 or 5,000, whatever it is, just to buy people to come out and be part of this shameful act. Now, it is unbelievable. It is really unbelievable that at this point in time, 2024, after 8 years of this fighting, which first of all started in Manu, so many people killed. People are calling on Paul Biya, who is now 91 years old. Paul Biya is now 91 years old. Dr. Gombe, you notice that Joe Biden was supposed to run for president in the Democratic Party here in the USA. Joe Biden is, I think, 82 years old or something, 81 or 82 years old.
Yep. That's right.
He was pushed out. He was pushed out from taking part or from standing as the Democratic candidate for president of the United States of America, and to give way to Kamala Harris, who is now the choice for the Democrats to run for president. Joe Biden is about 10 years younger than Paul Biya, about 10 years younger. He has already been pushed aside. But here we have Paul Biya, who is suffering from all manner of ailments. He's suffering from incontinence. He's mentally demented. He does not know where he is. I think the last time he came here to USA, he was visibly confused, didn't know who was in the room, was passing gas unstoppable. That is, he could not resist passing gas in front of people. He didn't know when to get up and make a speech. And when they told him he had to get up and make a speech, he said, why? Are they important people here? Who are these people I'm seeing here? Who are these people? Are they important people here? This man disgraces himself and the people he is supposed to be leading everywhere he goes. I think the last image we had of him was when he went, and I don't know why he likes to take himself to places. He went to France that he was going for the Olympics, and we saw him standing with a piece of plastic over his head being beaten by rain. A whole president of a country called La République du Cameroun. He was standing there under the rain with a piece of plastic on his head. This man has demonstrated in every way possible that he is tired. And this is the person who these so-called CPDM stooges in Mangi came out and were singing that he should come out, that he should run for another term in office. We just talked about mental slavery. Uh, we talked about mental slavery, Dr. Gwambe. If that is not mental slavery, what is it? What is it that at the age of 91, there are people who still think that Bobia should be their leader? Dr. Gwambe, I don't know. You tell me, what you read from this?
Well, the unfortunate thing that is there is that, hold on a second. La Republique du Cameroon is when they call it a republic, they're not lying. It is indeed a banana republic in the full sense of the word. It's just that it's rather unfortunate that they have allowed dictator Biya to be embarrassing them like that. But the unfortunate thing is that it's also the guys in the CPD. If you look at what the Democratic Party in the United States did in order to convince President Biden, and we're grateful for him for recognizing that it was time to hand over to the next coming generation and over to our sister Kamala Harris. We appreciate him for that. But if you look at how the Democratic Party is structured, they were able to do that because the various political figures within that party and in this country, they for the most part are relatively independent from the presidency.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know that elections cost money. The unfortunate situation in La Republique du Cameroon is that because the CPDM and Dictator Biya control the finances of that country and the natural resources of that country, especially Sonora and some of the other places and the ports and everything, they use these financial resources to bribe everyone, to bribe people so they can be able to run for the political office that they're going to run for, to bribe the population with T-shirts, fish,
Exactly.
hats,
Exactly.
and umbrellas, and all that type of stuff like that. While here in the United States of America, it's not like that. I mean, yeah, the Democratic National Committee can help you with fundraising and some advertisement, but it is technically up to you as an individual candidate when you're registered as a Democrat. You identify your own sources of income and get your own donations, which can give you a significant degree of autonomy from the president. And mind you, the president of the, the president of the United States is not the president of the party, of the political party. That's another nice thing about the United States as compared to La Republique du Cameroon, where you'll see the president of La Republique du Cameroon is also the president of CDM. CPDM. Joe Biden is not the president of the Democratic Party. There's actually a separate chairman who runs the affairs of the Democratic Party and helps in organizing different candidates and fundraising efforts and all those types of things like that. So there's a significant degree of autonomy that exists in the states compared to what is going on in La Republique du Cameroon. And La Republique du Cameroon citizens, they know very well what happened to those who were amongst the CPDM, who had the foresight, who had the intelligence, and who had the confidence to begin to see what they can do from within the CPDM to try to foresee the eventuality when Dictator Biya must transition. That's none other than Antanga Mambaras. I believe Moni was part of that. Marfa and all these people who Dictator Biya locked up just because these people were envisioning a world where one day Dictator Biya will pass away, and they don't want chaos.
Yes.
They don't want chaos. But Dictator Biya and those who are benefiting from him being there, they don't care.
And like you said, Dr. Nkwambe, you see, that is why La Republique du Cameroon, they systematically destroyed the economy of the Southern Cameroons because they wanted to render us dependent on them. They wanted to make us so poor that when they come out and they throw these $1,000 or $5,000 bills, people will fight over them. I can assure you that a lot of these people who are here is not because they believe in what this placard or whatever they're carrying here, this banner is saying. No, they have simply been promised 5,000 francs or 2,000 francs, whatever it is. And they are just there to get that. Not because they believe in whatever these people are saying, They don't believe in it, but they want to have that. If you do that out here in the United States, how many people will show up? Not many people will show up. So, first of all, it is illegal to do that. Now, that is the problem that our people have. They are easily bribed because when you are hungry, you will do anything to fill your stomach. That is the problem. They have rendered our people so destitute that they are easily tricked with a few franc CFA notes to come out and betray their own very core beliefs, to betray their core beliefs in exchange for these cheap amounts that are given to them. So that is the problem. But the issue is this. I think we saw another video of the taxation office in Manfe where the roof was completely destroyed. So you ask yourself, but what are these people marching for? What really has Paul Biya given to Manu that will compel these people to believe that he deserves another term in office? And we are saying this not because we care. Again, if Paul Biya wants to stay there indefinitely, that's their problem. But they should not do it on our soil. What has Paul Biya done for Manu that is worth celebrating? What has he done? Is it the road? If you go to Manfe, you still find the same old corrugated roofing sheets spotted here and there. Akwaya is still very much cut off. If not of the road that was sponsored by the World Bank, I think that is leaving from Ecom to Bamenda now. If not for that, would that road be existing? If not of the funding from the World Bank, that road would not be existing. So Manfe is still very much cut off economically. I think they trade more with Nigeria than with the rest of Ambazonia, not to talk of La Republic Cameroon. So they're very much cut off. So what is it? Is it the roads that are well constructed? Is it a hospital? I think the lone hospital, which was somewhere around Besongabang there, that was burnt down, is still very much in ruins. They don't have any hospital. Is it the economic isolation that Manfe is experiencing? What really are they celebrating? Or what has prompted them to see the need to call for Paul Biya to run for another term in office? And the answer is, no, these people are just fighting for themselves. They just want Paul Biya to see that they are doing a good job and reward them. And my question again, why only in Ambazonia? Why are these things happening? I have not seen that.
A very good day
standing
to
out with placards and singing and begging that Paul Biya should run for another term in office. Why are these things happening in Ambazonia? It is that same thing we talked about at the start of this show. Mental slavery. That is the taxation office in Manfe. That is it. Look at rain pouring down. The roof is completely gone. The walls, look at the walls, furniture. How can you sit in that environment and work? But Tabe Tando and the others are not seeing this. To them, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. All they want is for Paul Biya to see them standing behind the banner, calling for him to run again. If at all the Paul Biya is awake to see it, is he even conscious of what is happening? So I don't know. How are we going to liberate our people mentally so they can see the need to liberate themselves? Dr. Ngame, I keep coming back. This is the main problem that our people have. We are still mentally enslaved because I don't see how you can live under these conditions and still inviting the person who is solely responsible for your predicament to continue to dominate you. Dr. Ngwabe, I don't know. How do you rationalize this?
Well, I mean, when I look at this taxation office in particular, if I go for that, if I see that guy place, I will even doubt whether or not really taxation that he collect for it because he bad, really bad. You know, ultimately, for our people then give understand say CPDM, Dictator Bia, that stooge for Yaoundé. They don't create a situation where the population, some kind of voter apathy and leadership selection apathy, enter the population in mind. And the population get to understand say that was just a trick so that you will never be able to see or ever be able to conceive that one of you can lead the country or even be a leader on your own right. That's why you'll see that whenever you have any political parties that come up, people say, "Oh, but what did this and that?" They come up with all kinds of excuses. One of the funniest excuses that I've even heard is that why didn't they go and tar a road in their community? And you're asking yourself that first of all, who in La Republique du Cameroon, let alone in Ambazonia, is that rich that they can tar a road in the community or come and electrify a section? Who is there?
Even if, Dr. Kwambe, even if you had the means to do it, they won't let you. Why? Because they will say that you are trying to gather favors from the people so you can now run for a political position. They will not let you do it, even if you had the means to do it. They won't let you. Yes, that's the truth.
So ultimately, what our people have to do, our people have to realize that we're capable people.
Yeah, shock.
As long as the government is not in our way, we're going to prosper.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of, like, even in our liberation struggle, you see all the vilification that has occurred against various liberation leaders, and as a result, it's created a confusion where people just make blanket statements about all the leaders. That's the same tactic that has been employed in La Republique du Cameroon and in Ambazonia, where it keeps the population from being able to really rally behind leaders and movements who are actually doing their best and are trying to achieve something for the country. So my best advice to Ambazonians for our own particular case is that, look, you have to be able to give somebody a chance. And when you're giving that person a chance, look at the institution that they belong to and ask yourself, in this particular institution, if this particular person is not producing, if he's not effective, has this institution put in a procedure where this leader can be replaced and his cabinet can be replaced? If the answer is yes, then that's where you should go. Because what is essentially happening is that people get frustrated with belonging in organizations where certain leaders cannot be replaced. The same mistakes keep getting made over and over and over again. And instead of people finding a way to replace that leader, they just check out of the liberation struggle. And that's not helpful. So there are liberation movements where leadership change is possible. This IG in particular is one of them. We are able to hold our leadership accountable through elections and through other processes, through interactions with them, through meetings with them, and other conversations. That's what you Ambazonians should be looking for. And then at the same time, you need to make yourself available to help do the work. Don't just show up to give ideas. Don't just show up to criticize. Don't just show up to point fingers and all that. Volunteer to help do the work, because change in your country comes through you being a part of the process.
Of course.
That's why this is another reason why when some people are against groups and movements, I have to laugh. Because if you look at it,
you cannot imagine. You cannot imagine. Look at this road right here. But before I come to this road, I think the time has come where our people need to rise up, okay? And especially our restoration fighters on the ground, because what happened in Mamfe must not be allowed to happen again anywhere else. It is time for people to bear the consequence of their actions. That anyone who comes out again to commit such sacrilege anywhere within our territory must be made to pay a price for it, because it is an insult. It is an insult for people to carry a banner calling for Paul Biya to run for another. First of all, it is implying that we are in the same country with La Republique du Cameroon. So it is time for our restoration fighters to do their job and make sure that they completely outlaw such outings anywhere within their jurisdiction, with their area of control. And if they cannot do it while that event is going on, those who take part in such an event must be picked up and made to pay a price for it. We cannot apologize for it. This nonsense must not be allowed to take place again in Ambazonia, in any of the counties or LGAs. This is just a sacrilege that must be outlawed. Now, coming to this road right here, just imagine the misery, the economic stagnation. Look at these people, what they are going through. And it is not like, this is not a road that is supposed to be so difficult to maintain. It is because from the onset, the first pothole that emerged on this road was never treated. Dr. Kwame, having some knowledge about how roads are constructed, what causes the most destruction of the road is nothing but water. When you do not direct water properly on the road to make sure that it has proper drainage, you allow the water to sit on the road. That is where you have problems. That is where you have problems. There is no maintenance. When you look at the soil, it doesn't look like it's really very terrible, but it's just because the road is not maintained. There's no drainage. You can see that the road is like a valley. That means all the water settles in the middle of the road instead of flowing away from the road, because for so many years there has been no grading of that road. You see, and this is the problem we have. And then you see people suffering like this. And of course, their usual poison that will, no matter how, what interior of our territory that you find, or even in the Republic, they will manage to get their beer there, because that is a sedative that they use to keep our people inhibited. The beer, that is what they use to keep. It's like a drug that keeps the people docile enough to continue to allow their exploitation to take place. So I don't know. For 42 years in power, this is what Paul Biya is leaving behind. This is what he's leaving behind. And there are people who are so docile, so blockheaded, that they still feel that the misery that they have suffered and continue to suffer is not enough, that they need a lot more of it. You see, I lack words to really express my indignation at what these people are doing. And I think it is just time that when they come out to do that nonsense, I wish something happens to send them a message that we don't need that anymore within our territory. Dr. Ngwame.
You know, Don Mike, it's 42 years in power. You know, I know there's this running joke that people from La Republique du Cameroon, even Ambazonians, have about Paul Biya, that when he travels abroad, he closes his eyes so that he doesn't see anything that is good that he can take back to that territory to see if he can implement it there. You know, in the US, we have what is referred to as the Eisenhower interstate system. Eisenhower is President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was an American general during World War II, who, when he was fighting in Germany and he saw what is commonly known as the Autobahn, he saw how streets in Germany were and major capitals in Germany were connected to each other. When he came back to the United States and he wanted to run for political office in the United States, that was one of the things he wanted to propose, because a lot of Ambazonians would be surprised to know that American streets have not always been tarred. In the 1940s, 1950s, our streets resembled this in the dry season, of course, not muddy, bad, but they resembled this kind of mess, connecting the major cities. Most people traveled by rail between cities. But when Eisenhower had his eyes open while he was at war, mind you, not even that he was there on a peaceful visit, he was at war in Germany. When he came back to the United States during peacetime and he ended up becoming president, he ensured that, you know, the bills were passed in Congress for them to create an interstate system that connected the streets and the cities of the United States of America with good tarred roads.
Mhm.
And that's why I love federalism. I love federalism so much. And I know that we in Amazonia, our counties or even our LGs will be in a federation with one another so that the federal government of Boya will have its own responsibilities for certain roads that it is going to have to raise revenue to pay for. Maybe the road connecting Bamenda to Nkambe, what is the other place? Kumba to Boya, and those, those kind of interstate roads. That's what the federal
Yeah,
government will
all
be
those
responsible
things.
for.
Yep.
Yep. While we at the local level within Mezam, where I know, Commercial Avenue, it'll be the Bamenda Urban Council and Mankon Bachongwa or Bamenda Kwen LGA. They'll be responsible for collecting their own taxes to maintain their roads.
Mhm.
If there are big camions passing through, they'll collect the taxes from that. Property taxes will also have to be collected because you cannot have a
Yep.
properly developed society if you do not collect property tax. You have to collect property tax. Income tax has to be collected. That's how you maintain prosperous, developed looking societies. And it's going to be up to the local administration to be able to have oversight over these funds so that when those funds are for some reason mismanaged, the local population will see it and then they will rise up against that poor leadership locally and kick them out. They will not be waiting for some people in Boya to come and realize that road work wasn't done in Lebi Alem and now we need to figure out who's going to fix it. No, that's why we're going to have a federal republic of Amazonia. So we decentralize all this decision making, we decentralize all this development, and so that we don't continue to live like this for the next 42 years. I can guarantee you, Amazonians, if we have 42 years of independence, this road will not look like this. In a federal republic of Amazonia that is sovereign and independent and separate from the
No.
Republic of Cameroon, it will
No.
not. There's no way it
That
will
that
look
is
like that.
remember the days of PWD, Dr. Ngwambe. That is what PWD did. All they did was maintain, and the roads at the time were not graded roads, but they were pliable. Why? Because they were there. Each time a pothole emerged, they filled it up, compacted, and the roads, the cars would drive safely. Unlike now, where PWD does not, is there, nobody is there to maintain these roads, and that's why you find the situation the way it is. I think we have covered this issue a lot. We are supposed to be out of here within the next 6 minutes. I would like for us to take this time to maybe encourage Amazonians to come out this September and support the draft which is meant to provide support to our ARFs on the ground. And also for those of us who are not yet subscribed to the Amber Dues website to make your monthly contributions, $10, $20, $30, $50, whatever you are able to afford, to please sign up and be part of it. We can talk about all these things, but if there is no support to make sure that we are providing the needed support to those who are giving the resistance that La Republic requires, then we will not be able to go very far. So please pay in your dues at amberdues.com and get your Amber ID while you are at it. And again, look forward to the draft that is coming up sometime this September. Be part of it, chip in your own support. Please emancipate yourselves from this mental slavery which makes us believe that we cannot disentangle ourselves from La Republic Cameroon. That is what they have put in your head. It is just a trick to keep you in servitude. It is not real. We can very easily walk away. Do not allow yourselves to be like the horse that's been led by a toddler. That is not, it is not what we should be doing. Let us follow the example of Captain Traore of Burkina Faso, who is doing things that people never believed could be done. He chased out France from his country. He's taken over the exploitation of their resources, and their revenue has increased. In this world, you have to fight for what is yours. You cannot wait for others to give it to you. You have to fight for it. Because in this world, there are predators and they are the prey. You can either choose to be a predator or a prey, and we refuse to be the prey of others. It's time for us to rise up and take what truly belongs to us. Dr. Ngwambe, your final word.
My final words, I just want to thank you, Don Mike, for inviting me onto the program today, and also want to thank the production team of ABS TV for making it possible for us to be able to do this show. I also want to send out a special appreciation to our brother, and that is none other than the Honorable Ambassador Thibault Naj, for being consistent in his advice and his recommendations to us. And I want to thank the liberation leaders and the liberation movements that are out there who have gradually begun to hear that call of finding a way to talk with one another and to speak with one voice. I end by saying that I'm an Ambazonian and I believe in myself and I'm emancipated. The mental slavery is completely emancipated from me. I know we Ambazonians are capable people. And I know you, my fellow Ambazonians, are capable people, and you all should believe it yourself because I believe in you. And ultimately, this liberation struggle is going to end up being successful. And it will be because we were resilient, we were focused, and we did what we had to do to defeat La République du Cameroon. I end with, that famous song that we Ambazonians know, which is a message to the international community and to La République du Cameroon. Until we reach Boya, we will never, never leave Ambazonia halfway until we reach Boya and beyond. God bless you, Ambazonia. God bless our restoration forces. Take care.
Thank you, Dr. Ngwambe. Thank you again for coming in today. It's always a pleasure having you here on ABS TV. Fellow Ambazonians, you have listened to what we have presented to you today. Again, I would say here that we have been told severally that we need to come together and work together to liberate ourselves and our people from these 61 going on 62 years of domination. And I'm calling on us again to put aside our personal differences and work towards what is good for all of us. We have been told by many diplomats that is what we need, because there are people out there who are willing to come in and support us, but when they see us in factions, they are not encouraged to do so. Whatever differences we have between us are minimal compared to the main problem that we have with La République du Cameroon. We can put aside our differences. When we get to Boya, we're going to sort everything out. So I'm calling on you again. And for those who, for some reason, mental slavery or whatever, that have felt that the task of disentangling ourselves from La République du Cameroon was so impossible, I'm here telling you that it is a fallacy. We can very much walk away from La République du Cameroon. It is an attainable objective. It is an attainable objective for us to walk away from La République du Cameroon. All we need to do is come together, work together like one people with one purpose, one objective. If we do that, this task will be achieved in the shortest possible time. You can see La République is already crumbling. I think I saw a note, was it yesterday, that they are no longer able to pay some of their workers. Things are falling apart. Roads are crumbling. Everything is just going awry in that country. We just need to squeeze tighter. We need to squeeze them tighter, and they will soon give up. So I'm calling on you, if you have not been part of this struggle before, please come on board. Provide your own contribution. Don't just sit out there and complain and say, oh, this leader did this. Sometimes you may be that person that is supposed to make that difference. But until you are part of it, then your own talents and skills will be lacking in contributing that very added effort that's needed to take us over the finish line. So, ladies and gentlemen, it was a pleasure being here again with you today. I will be back again sometime next week. And as I like to say, please take good care of yourselves and each other. And to our restoration fighters on the ground, please protect our civilians. Protect our civilians. Do not victimize them. When you take care of them, they will take care of you. That is how it works. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, the war zone is out. Good night.